A very good day to the listeners and viewers of Suniyetau. I have pleasure in informing the current listeners and viewers that we have two eminent personalities from India. One is Mr. Atul Tiwari, well known to Suniyetau and well known to Abdi and Tiwari families. My chota bhai Atul, who is a cinematographer, a screenplay writer, and director, playwright, and so many other qualities he has. It will take the full day to explain what he is up to. But it's good to have you here, Atul. Thank you very much. Jeete rahiye. All the best. So now I would also like to thank our regular Dr. Alok Bajpai from Kanpur, who has very kindly found time to join us. And Dr. Bajpai is a regular consultant for psychiatrists in Regency hospitals in Kanpur. So thank you, gentlemen, very much for joining us. And indeed, it's a sad sort of a scenario. Although as for Australia, it's been a sort of a comparatively easy ride compared to the rest of the world. But Australia seems to be coming out of this pandemic of corona, but India has gone into a second dip, which is very, very disturbing and alarming. And that's the subject we're going to talk about in this particular episode of Suniye Tau happenings especially in India. So if I could first trouble Alok to lay out a general scenario and then ask Atul to explain what's happening in Maharashtra or wherever he is right now, and his experiences of the people and the places that he is visiting and experiencing. So over to Alok. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. See, what has happened is that although a lot of countries, especially in Europe and US also partly, had spikes which we could call as second wave and third wave. But what had happened in India, that India slightly started late. And if you remember last year, by that time, India peak was around May or something, and it continued till about August and September. There were mathematical models which were being made by the professors at IT Kanpur also, so which showed it, and the whole flow of the thing actually mapped that, in the sense that by October, November, the things had started really coming down. And in fact, for 2 months, at least December and Jan and Feb also, to some extent, life was normal. People had almost like forgotten whether there has been something called COVID. Also, that was a mistake. So everybody was mixing up, marriages were going on, people were almost getting back to normal. It was good for mental health also. But suddenly, what has happened, and this is starting March, especially say around Holi, there was a peak which was expected around Holi because of the mixing of people, right? But then a lot of things happened. Political rallies were happening. We are not talking about COVID happening in places where there are political rallies. So all this data is coming from rest of the India, not from West Bengal. Understand? So we don't have the data of Kumbh. So I don't think it will be very right, although that is a risky behavior. But the spread of COVID in India is beyond these Kumbhs and political rallies. It has just happened. And this time it has happened in a different way. Like there were people who were having COVID infection to various levels of severity. Right now it is more widespread. The severity is there for some people. Also, this time collided with the whole vaccination drive in this country. So we are really not able to collect the data that how many people are getting it after vaccine. Although the data which is coming officially is very low, it will say 0.001% something number of people who had after vaccine. But if you take it empirically, what we are seeing in the field, if you hear that everybody who has had a vaccine, especially the second dose, has had a bout of infection. The intensity is low for some people. For some, it is still the same and they land up in ICU and all. But the number of people who are having is really short. It was not so much last year. So it has really crossed 2 lakh people per day. So in that sense, the severity and everything is pretty high. Now, what the mathematical models are saying, they had expected this peak, but not to this extent. But, you know, mathematical models can get totally offloaded because of biology. Biology is uncertain and public behavior. So what is
so
being
many
predicted?
variables come into the play which the mathematical model did not take into account, and it's just
Virus,
impossible to control, scientifically and in physical mathematics wise these things, and it's such a unpredictable set of conditions which make life difficult.
So another 10 days is probably what we are looking at, where it will peak and start decreasing. That is one aspect of it. But then, you know, mathematical models are on a large scale, statistical averaging and all that. When you see what is happening at the ground, it is total mayhem and mess in this country. Because what happened is probably people got so complacent that there was no preparation. So what is happening is no beds, no medication, everything is tight, oxygen and remdesivir and whatever treatments are available. I mean, they are on a premium right now. Although government is trying hard to provide it, whatever best they can do. Because, sir, we should understand that when you compare India with countries like Australia or Europe or any other place, there is a huge difference.
Definitely.
If you talk of a percentage and you turn that percentage to absolute numbers, it becomes humongous.
Exactly.
1% in this country would be 1.3 crores.
Exactly.
Right? Which would be a population of Australia, actually. Slightly.
Exactly. I was going to say that. Thank you. Now, I would like Atul to come in here because I don't know how far he has experienced this pandemic in terms of people and places. So, can you update us with respect to Maharashtra if you recently been there? Please, Atul.
Well, I live in Maharashtra. I live in Bombay, and as far as COVID is concerned, I myself am a COVID survivor, so I have seen it up close, and of course, the whole country is seeing it up close for last 1 year and a month. That's about 13 months. But I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist like Dr. Alok, so I'll not be able to give you a scientific or medical outlook like he can give it. But what I can definitely share with you is whatever little socio-political outlook that I have about these things. Because ultimately, the socio-political outlook of a country definitely can make things worse or make things better or make things tolerable. Well, you talked about Australia, thank God, being comparatively safe from this pandemic, which has ravaged the whole world. I mean, in real terms, America has lost more people, has infected more people than India has, despite its huge population. Now, but we'll catch up with them with 3 lakh more cases every day happening now. It's in a way easy for Australia because Australia is an island. It's an island physically. It's easy to shut an island. It's also somewhat an island socially. When I say because of the Western dominance of the Western culture, people live in little islands. There's not this kind of a mixing that agar Holi hai, to हजारों लोगों को आना ही है साथ में. अगर दिवाली है, तो हजारों लोगों को आना ही है साथ में. अगर ईद है, कोशिश तो करेंगे कि हम साथ में आ जाएं. नहीं कर पाएंगे, वो एक ट्रेजेडी होगी, वो एक मजबूरी होगी. जो कि जरूरी नहीं है ऑस्ट्रेलिया के लिए या ऑस्ट्रेलिया जैसे दूसरे वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज के लिए, जहां लोग अपने अपने आइलैंड्स में जीते हैं. लेट मी से सो very very bluntly, वहाँ पे ये mixing usually, which is I'm not making a comment on that, but the thing is that also makes it safe. The island of Australia is safe than India, which is not an island. लेकिन मुझे लगता है उससे ज़्यादा, and सब I'm sorry that I keep getting back to Hindi.
That's
but
fine.
The more important thing has been the immunity of our country. And when I use this medical term immunity, I'm not talking about the immunity which you can get by a medicine called Imulina, or I'm not talking about the medical immunity. I'm talking about social immunity. Immunity is something which is in your body, which prepares you of the attacks of the future infections. So, like today, as we talk about Corona, our head of the Air Forces in France, and he has flagged off 3 more Rafale jets for India. Why? Are we at war today? No, we are not. But this is for the future wars. We are getting ourselves prepared for the future wars. We talk here about Corona. But did this country prepare itself? Did this country prepare its immunity for the future infections and attacks? Especially when the warning came last year. We had a lockdown within 4 hours by our Supreme Leader, by our Prime Minister, Honorable Modi, within 4 hours in such a country. And he said, and many people agreed with him, that this was because the infrastructure had to be prepared to meet this new enemy called Corona. But then what did we prepare? Did we prepare that today we are not able to get enough of oxygen in the country? Did we prepare ourselves that we have enough beds in the country? Did we prepare that we have enough of vaccine in the country? Did we? And we are the biggest vaccine manufacturers in the world. We have the capacity. The SII has the capacity for that. But despite that, did we prepare for this? Did we prepare for enough ventilators? No, we did not. We did not learn our lessons. That's where I think we failed. We did not build our immunity. And again, I'm not saying about medical immunity. I'm talking about social immunity. I'm talking about the immunity which a country, the strength that country should have had. And that's where we have failed. That's where it is happening, that in a hospital the day before yesterday, not day before yesterday, in Nashik, 22 people were killed in a hospital who were all on the ventilators because there was no oxygen. Next door in a town called Newton, which is a small town, which is a rain shadow area where there are a lot of farmer suicides and things. 11 people died because there was no oxygen supply. Oxygen supply did not reach them in their beds. That's just 32 talking in Maharashtra. So especially Maharashtra, because you talked to me about it, I am a Maharashtrian in the sense that for 30 years I live in Maharashtra, in Bombay, and so the situation is bad in Maharashtra because also the density in a place like Pune, density in a place like Bombay, and the other thing is again the migrant laborers are leaving there. Again, we have not prepared as a society for that. Why should a migrant worker who's a daily worker, who when he plies a rickshaw the whole day, he is able to pay for his koli in the evening, where he stays, a kind of a chambari with 7 other drivers. He is able to pay it only if he has earned in the day. So he cannot be, the Iqtedar will not let him live in that chambari in the evening if he has not pulled his rickshaw the whole day. And how can he pull the rickshaw when nobody is going anywhere or nobody is coming anywhere? What have we done for that social security? So ultimately, we have to think about building this social immunity, which can only come from a political will, which has failed us miserably.
Yes.